A parking ticket that I had forgotten about ended up going to a collection agency. Yay!
I drove over a massive curb yesterday and effed up my car. Paying attention is hard.
It can be. My car lease ended, and now I have to buy a new car. And you know what? I'd rather get a root canal.
I'm up to 18 robocalls a day. I've counted them. Whoever you are, get a life.
Get the biggest life and have such a good day. To Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
Yeah, man. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And woman.
And woman.
And centaur.
And all creatures, big, small, fat, and thin.
Except mosquitoes. You're not allowed to listen to this show.
Honestly, mosquitoes are the worst. Almost every day there's one mosquito cruising around in my house and I kill it.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, where did you come from? It's like 40 degrees outside. Like, I don't understand.
Do you think it's because you don't have screens on your windows?
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, and maybe you've gotten them since then. I don't know.
No,
we haven't talked about the screens because I don't know. I haven't really had a lot of windows open lately because it's been sort of cold and rainy, but with screens, yeah. I don't have mosquito problems. I've never seen a mosquito in here.
I don't, honestly, like, I'll open my door for a few minutes for my cats, but I don't feel, I feel like they're getting in some other way. I don't know. It's strange. But
well, I know that
summer's going to be interesting.
Any standing water is mosquito.
Yeah.
That's what they like.
Well, there's actually, I got to do a major overhaul in like my little outdoor like potted plants because there's so much water that's like in the pots. They're overflowing. That might be it.
That might be.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not helping.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Okay. I got to work on that.
Work on that.
Oh, I'm glad we figured that out. You know, see, this is what we're here for. We're here to figure out all of your life problems
as we figure out ours.
Yeah. And, you know, hopefully we will all be entertained and share some stories about the absurdity of adult life. Because you know what? Every day is a new challenge, Sarah.
It really is. Every day is a fresh hell is another way to put it. But we do consider you a community with the show. It only works with the input of the folks who watch and listen. We are a family. Dysfunctional as all hell, but that's okay.
I think that's okay too. At least we love you. The love is there. It's unconditional. We want more of you. We'd like to have a bigger family. I mean, we need to all start inbreeding.
Yeah. We're polygamists of some kind. I don't really know how that's gonna work, but we'll figure it out and we'll have a commune somewhere.
We'd like to have about Kansas. 1,000 of you. Is that possible? We just need another 10 times 10 of what we already have right now, and we'd be pretty happy.
Speaking of the collective you, for our patrons at patreon.com/havesuchagoodday, at the $5 per month and up level, we have a bonus topic at the end of every show. And Heather, what's our bonus topic today?
We do. Well, this one was very popular. I was slightly surprised. We're going to talk about what life-altering things should every human get to experience at least once in their lives. So like maybe a bucket list kind of thing.
Life-altering.
I know.
Okay.
I thought this actually came in from somebody, I believe. I apologize. I don't remember who, but I believe somebody wrote in about this.
Okay.
So we will talk about that a little bit later in the show.
What if it was a mosquito?
Oh God. Can
you imagine if there was just like kind of like a hidden community of mosquitoes that are like,
that's what I'm.
Don't let them know we're listening to the show.
Well, I hope that hidden community of mosquitoes is not in my house.
I hope that for you as well.
Anyway, you learn new things every day. I mean, even just that like slight discovery, you know, it's like problem solving. Life is problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like. I feel like every single day I am solving a new problem. And then you think, oh, at the end of the day, you're like, great, have a glass of wine, you know, have a nice evening. Then you wake up the next day, there's a new problem to solve.
You know, not to belabor the mosquito point, but because I hate them as much as you do. Yeah. I almost hate the sound in your ear more than getting bitten. Like, it's everything about them is horrible. Long time ago, back in San Francisco, before you and I were roommates. So it was the house I lived in before, and I lived alone. And I was up, you know, on like the 3rd level or something. I was up pretty high. And yeah, there was a mosquito problem. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco is not really a mosquito place.
It's not humid.
I don't know if I had, I don't think I had screens in my windows, but it was still just like, what is going on? What is the deal? You know, and I all over the property and trying to figure it out. Finally, I realized that there was this kind of alley that no one used.
Yikes.
That it was even, you kind of had to go around the back of the property. It's hard to explain, but it was old Victorian kind of whatever. And there was just this alley, like maybe that's where like the garbage came in and out. I had never even been over there. And there was kind of a big puddle that wasn't draining anywhere because the sidewalk or whatever it was sort of dipped. And I realized that there was a whole family of mosquitoes just living and breeding and ruining my life.
That is such a nightmare. What did you do?
I took care of it, Heather.
Oh, you did?
I poured bleach in the puddle, and that was the end of that.
Oh, God, that must have felt so good.
I
do not feel bad killing mosquitoes. I feel slightly bad when I kill, like there's occasionally be a random bug, you know, in the house, and I know it's not, you know, maybe like a, I don't know, like a little sow bug or something, and I kind of don't want to kill it because they're harmless.
I'm pro not killing, even spiders.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to murder you today.
Thanks.
Yeah, even spiders. I don't feel good about it. I'm afraid of them, but I don't like enjoy killing them because I know that they're great for the planet.
I try to not kill them, but it's really hard to do that. You know, it's easier to just smash them and then throw them in the toilet, but to actually get them and put them outside, I'm too paranoid that they're going to fall out and fall on me and I'm going to freak out.
You know, there was a story that was on DTNS, other show that I do, that somewhat recently, or maybe it was something we were talking about in the pre-show, or I don't really remember, but it turns out the mosquitoes are really good for pollinating plants.
Oh.
So they do serve a purpose besides ruining your life.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're losing all the bees, so somebody's got to pollinate the plants.
Yeah. It's you know, again, the science of it all is escaping me a little bit, but I remember being like, man, I want to hate them 100%, but I guess I like them a tiny bit.
See,
because
now I feel bad.
Now they're part of the ecosystem.
I'm still going to kill them. Anyway, how was your week?
It was okay. Better than last week. Last week, you know, I lost a kitty and I was super bummed about it, and I still am. But the vet hospital was extremely nice. They have cremated him, and I have to go pick up his ashes, and then I can do what I want with them. They're in a little urn that I paid for, but you know, it's a nice little gesture. They also sent me flowers. For anybody watching the video, you might be able to see the top of the flowers behind us, which was also extremely sweet.
Such a nice gesture.
Such a nice gesture. It turns out that because of all of this mayhem and sort of grief and just kind of weird days, my car lease that I knew was about to end, the day that it was technically like I had to give the car back, kind of got away from me. I had all last week to do it, and I just was doing other things. And on Sunday, that was the day that I had to take my car back. Well, I didn't. So Mercedes called me and said, why are you keeping that car? Like, we haven't discussed, you know, are you trying to buy it or that kind of thing? And I was like, I'm sorry, it's raining. Like, just like, give me a break. You know, one of those things where you're like, can you just give me a break?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, this needs to happen today.
Wow.
That was yesterday. So as soon as I finished my live show for the afternoon, I drove to the nearest dealership and I was like, take my car. You know, there was like a bunch of Coca-Cola cans in the trunk. Somebody had like given me.
That's not like you.
I know. Well, because I hadn't been drinking them. I mean, they were full. There was nothing wrong with them. And I'm like, do you guys want these? Like, I just like can't even deal with this stuff. Like, I'm not going to take the
you
six
offered
pack.
them the Coke.
I'm like, what do I do? Like, take it with me in the Uber on the way home? So anyway, I am without car. I have a dog, and so I'm positive that the not having a car thing is going to last a week at best.
Sure.
Because there's just stuff you have to do, even just sort of emergency stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like if you had to take him to the vet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sure, my vet's close by, but it's like, yeah, you just...
Yeah.
There and the ride hailing situation is not such that they're ready to like just have me and my dog, who's like sometimes muddy after the dog park, just like jumping in the back seat. It doesn't really work that way.
How does that really work for Ubers?
No one really knows. I seem to recall, and I might be making this up or imagining it, but I seem to recall that back in the day, there was like a toggle thing where you could ask for a dog-friendly car.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
That is nowhere in any settings that I've seen, because I've looked. Because I was like, oh, I'll just do that, and like maybe it'll take a little bit longer for an Uber to come, and like I'll just, we'll just be chauffeured around town.
Maybe it is illegal.
Doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah, there's probably something to that. So we will check back in when I figure out my car situation. But I really am. It's funny because my dad used to sell cars, and if he was still around, this would all be very easy. He'd be like, "This is the car you're getting," and I'd be like, "Okay." That's how it always went for like my first 5 cars that I owned. He would just like figure it out for me.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, and he knew what he was doing, obviously, and everyone knows that buying a car is a racket, or leasing, or whatever. You can do private sale, and then you kind of have to worry if that person is crazy.
And then you have to pay for it to be fixed and to get oil changes and to do all that.
All of those things. Yeah. So that is, it is my least, well, I mean, there are things I hate more than buying a car, but it's so much pressure. I hate to feel like I know that I'm being taken for a ride and they know that I know, and it's the song and dance that we do. I hate haggling. I hate all of it.
It's the worst.
It is the worst.
Like it gives me so much. It makes me panicky.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I know some people that don't have cars that have decided, not just one person, but I have met someone else who is a freelancer, and they don't have a car.
A good friend of mine, RJ, who lives in Venice. He doesn't have a car. He hasn't had a car in LA, and he's lived here longer than we have. But he used to borrow my car because we were neighbors somewhat often, which I was always happy to do. But he's always kind of touting like, you don't need a car. And I'm like, well, but you used to love borrowing my car because you needed a car sometimes.
Sure.
And you didn't want to take an Uber down to Fullerton or wherever you were going. So, and you don't have a dog.
Well, what did he say?
I mean, he knows that I'm right.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, I think when you don't have a car, depending on your lifestyle, it can work out really great. LA is a weird place to not have a car.
I agree.
It can be done, but I just feel nervous about being like, okay, if I take Otis anywhere, it can only be somewhere that we can walk. And I can walk for hours sometimes.
But you don't always have that time.
No, you don't always have that time. And like, what am I never going to take him to the beach? And it just kind of gets weird. Yeah. Anyway.
I think a little hatchback of some kind.
Something simple.
Nice.
Something simple. Probably used and beat up, but
I'll look out for any for sale signs for you.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that.
In the ghetto. Well, I was taken to Quentin Tarantino's movie theater this week. It was a really fun experience. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Not at all. This is something that he owns?
He owns it. And
okay.
And he actually programs it. Like, he picks the movies, which is really cool. It's not like somebody else who is deciding what plays there.
Is it all first run stuff or no?
No, I mean, it's all like, I saw something from like, the early 80s the other night.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
It's his curated cinema list.
Yeah, he programs everything.
That's really cool.
It's really cool. So it's called the New Beverly. It's in West Hollywood. In fact, it's down the street from my old place. And it's funny because I used to want to go there a lot when I lived over there, but it was closed for renovations, like pretty much the whole time I lived there. So, and it just reopened.
One would think Quentin Tarantino would choose a more like striking name for a theater.
I agree. I thought about that today. I know. The New Beverly. I know. You would think it would be something grindhousey or something. I don't know.
Right. But maybe it has something to do with getting as many patrons as possible.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, just like us, we're looking for patrons.
That's right.
But anyway, so it was a double feature, but we saw Skate Town, USA. Are you familiar with that movie?
Is it about skateboarders?
It's about roller skaters.
Okay, no, I haven't seen it.
It's quite a movie. It's hilarious. It is Patrick Swayze's in it. And there's like a competition between these skaters. In fact, there's a lot of footage of Venice. They did a lot of like that, a lot of footage of them skating like on the Venice, you know, in the piers and like on the, you know, on the beach walk and everything. But it's Scott Baio's in it.
Okay.
There's a couple other cameos. There are some interesting people in this movie. It's definitely kind of like a B movie. So it's got like
what
early
Skate Town
80s.
USA did not win an Oscar, Heather?
The music is so funny. It's like disco. It's like mostly disco, like
Sure.
early 80s stuff. Super fun though. Really cool scene. It was packed. A lot of, you know, cinema nerds. Very
in the
cool theater though.
itself.
Yeah, they have really cool movie posters. It's got a really good vibe. So I highly recommend going there. I'm probably going to go back, and I will drive that far to go because it was that cool.
Is it food and drink friendly?
Yeah,
and all
they
that
have,
good stuff?
Well, they have like hot dogs. I mean, they have some good snacks, like some interesting snacks. They don't just have they have like the regular fare.
I guess what I'm asking is, do they serve alcohol? Because
They
that's
have-
what I need out of a theater these days.
I don't think they do. I thought I saw people drinking beers like out of a bottle, but I want to say those were root beers. I'll find out and get back to you, but I totally agree. But you can get, I mean, the ArcLight. I mean, the ArcLight has alcohol, but
Oh, sure. There's, I mean, many theaters now do that.
not in LA though. Like I feel like that, you know, there isn't. I miss some of the San Francisco theaters because I feel like there aren't as many here that offer alcohol.
On the west side there are.
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Because that's where I was always going to
Yeah, that's
theaters
true.
for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll
Moving back west then.
well, yeah, we'll move back to Santa Monica and drink some wine at the theater. Okay, so the next story is, you mentioned San Francisco, and I think a lot of those, you know, cool theaters in San Francisco maybe not necessarily going the way of the dodo, but they might be changing. And the reason I say that is because there's a New York Times article. It was written, it just published a couple of days ago, titled, "Thousands of New Millionaires Are About to Eat San Francisco Alive."
I like the sound of that.
Almost mosquito-like. Well, you're not going to like the sound of it, really.
Uh-oh.
Because what the author meant by that headline was there are going to be some tech IPOs. Airbnb, Lyft, Uber, and Pinterest are the big four. There's going to be some others too, but those companies are all expected to IPO. Well, Lyft already announced that it was on its IPO roadshow. But what that means is there are going to be a bunch of young people who are getting a bunch of money, who are going to drive up the real estate prices, and they will ruin the city further. And that's what people already complain about in San Francisco. They complain about it at lots of places. San Francisco is not the only place to have way too much young money that overly gentrifies something that had a lot of soul at one point.
Yep.
When Heather and I were still living in San Francisco, I saw that happening over time. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. And some of the gentrification I actually liked.
And it happened twice. I mean, we were there during the first .com.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's funny because I have a friend, he's actually a patron, who's quoted in this article as saying, and this is true, my wife and I kind of like, we started looking like, oh man, like these IPOs are going to happen and we're not going to be able to buy a house because everyone will overpay in cash. You know, you're going to be like 1.3 million over asking, you know, because people just want those houses. Yeah. And a lot of people in the Bay Area, especially if the company's based in San Francisco, but also because it's sort of hip and happening, they don't want to live in the burbs.
No.
They don't even need a car necessarily. They want to live in the city, and it's extremely impacted. There's not a lot of inventory to begin with. Everything is crazy expensive anyway. And can you imagine being like, you know, we've saved up, we're pretty good. We can kind of get our, not even necessarily a starter home, but like a fairly nice place. But you can't compete with somebody who has $70 million.
Oh, I have
like,
some friends who are in that situation.
Yeah, I'll just get a house. I'll just get whatever house I want, you know, and there's bidding wars and the whole thing. It's been happening for a while, but the city itself, and there have been some council meetings, you know, and neighborhood meetings that were quoted in this article of, you know, people just freaking the fuck out about it. And it's not just about buying houses. It's about all that other stuff that comes along with it. You know, Well, you get a bunch of rich people hanging out in a neighborhood, and those rich people want to go to a certain kind of restaurant, and they want to do certain kinds of activities. And
it drives out smaller businesses that are maybe struggling, and
absolutely,
you know.
Yeah. And there's the whole thing about landlords jacking up leases on long-term store owners.
I can't believe
and restaurateurs.
It's gonna be so much worse. I mean, I can't imagine it being worse than it already is.
Well, it's going to be worse. Well, I think that's a given. So, and I don't know. Like, I'm not taking some stand like those millionaires shouldn't have made the money. You know, it's like, I wish I was a .com millionaire, very much so.
We should have been.
We should have been. Yeah, it's like, I would love that. I would love to be a rich person. But I also, I hate to see something kind of, you can't get too many rich people in one place, and it, you know, look at Manhattan.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, it's like, it's just, it just makes me sad.
It is really sad. I mean, it changes the face of the entire city. I mean, it's like, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like it was already bad for us when we were there. We probably jumped ship at a really good time, because we kind of left before it got really bad. Kind of right before it got really bad.
Gosh, I felt like it was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad, but it got worse.
It's also bad here, though.
It is.
And, you know, LA is not, you can definitely find some pretty affordable areas of LA because it's just way bigger.
But I mean, our neighborhood isn't affordable anymore.
Our neighborhood is more affordable than my previous neighborhood.
Sure. But it's still scrappy, but it's still not super affordable.
Yeah. It's if the places that everyone wants to live are expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's California. What are you going to do?
I mean, that's the thing, is all of the normal people are being driven out to like Boise, Idaho and Wyoming and all these other places that maybe they don't want to live. And
I don't know. Wyoming sounds pretty great to me.
I kind of agree. I'm starting to warm up to the idea of like living somewhere not so freaking cool and popular. You know what I mean?
Wyoming's pretty cool.
Well, you know what I mean, like the sort of city center, where
yeah.
all the happenings. And no, I agree.
Yeah.
Hey man, I didn't know how much you liked Wyoming. It's good to know.
Yeah, national park.
Yeah, man.
It's quite lovely.
Yeah, I agree. Well, speaking of super rich people,
great. Let's stay on this train.
And the New York Times. Well, there was a really interesting article, and you know, it's not even just about this article I read on the New York Times. I'm seeing this a lot, and I'm actually hearing a lot of stories from my circle of friends. You know, I have a lot of friends who are, you know, it's funny, we share stories. You know, I kind of share my war stories with being a freelancer, and then my friends are constantly, you know, talking about their terrible boss or their commute, and they never have time on the weekend to do anything because all they do is work. You know, you go Monday through Friday, you get up in the morning early, you drive in, you work all day, you're exhausted at night, you don't have time to do anything. And so it's actually kind of a funny thing because we're both complaining about each side. So it's like, you know, grass is always greener. And we talk about this all the time. But, you know, I don't have one friend who has a full-time job right now who is really stoked on their job. So this one article is basically saying that they're finding more and more wealthy, successful people are miserable. And I'm not going to get into any of the statistics, but what I wanted to talk about is that, you know, what constitutes a good job? You know, what is it that would make a full-time job worth your time? Going in every day, commuting across town, that kind of thing. And I sort of listed out a few things that I thought would sort of be the ideal scenario. Okay. You know, because most of these corporations have a lot of red tape. There's a lot of politics. You know, there's a lot of, you know, terrible executives at the top. You got to, you know, work with people that you don't respect. You don't have time for anything. So, you know, it's not just about financial security. I mean, obviously people who make tons of money and they get bonuses every year, they dread going into the office. This is one of the quotes from the New York Times article. You know, but if you have a job where you make decent money, you can control your time on some level, you know, your job provides you some sense of autonomy. You have a decent boss and a good team to collaborate with. You work alongside people who you respect and they respect you. You enjoy spending time with them. You know, and the work that you put in is meaningful. You don't have to save the world or like cure cancer, but like what you're doing every day, you feel good. You go home at night and you feel good. Those are things that are important to me. I wanted to ask you, it's been a while since you've had a full-time job, but what would it take for you to, what are the
have
things?
one again and feel like it was rewarding?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what you were listing out just then, I'm like, well, everybody wants that, but I feel like I have had that when I was much younger, and so it's hard to say if I would have liked it so much.
Sure.
Being 20 years older now than I was when I was in my early 20s. Tech TV. Tech TV was hard work, but it was super fun, super
great,
super social.
Yeah.
We were making television and winging it half the time, and a lot of us were either in our first or second jobs.
Yeah.
And that it's Roger Chang, who I went to college with and is the producer on DTNS. We talk about this all the time because he was at Tech TV before I was, but just barely. And we're like, it was like what kind of job? We were so lucky.
We were so lucky. That was like the heyday. That and early G4 was the heyday.
But at the same time, I can't say that someone in a management position at that company, because there were a lot of people. Yeah. I didn't know what half the people even did.
No.
I can't say that they didn't have some of the issues that I have had in, subsequent jobs.
Sure.
You make more money, you kind of move up the ranks. And I've definitely, TV, I left it like on purpose because it was driving me crazy back in the day. Now we just do it again in a different sense. But you mentioned autonomy, and it's funny because there was a job, one of the last full-time jobs that I had, and there was sort of like senior management, middle management, I don't know, someone that was a couple ranks above me who was new to the company and was sort of going around and having little one-on-ones with a bunch of people on the team that I was working for, just to get a sense of like who we all are and how's everything going and nice to meet you. And that all sounded great on paper. And I remember sitting in her office and, we're kind of chatting, and she's kind of looking past me, as I'm talking, and I can tell that she's kind of listening.
Yeah.
And at one point I said, and I think she said something like, okay, great, thanks so much for your input. What would you change?
Yeah.
Is there something you'd want to change? And I was like, I feel like I don't have a lot of autonomy. And that word kind of like jerked her awake.
Oh.
And I remember she didn't like that because I think to her it meant like, oh, I want to be left alone, which wasn't true. I felt that I was being super micromanaged at the time.
For sure.
And I wanted autonomy. I wanted to be trusted. I had a lot of experience, and I was like, what, like if I'm here, I want to, I need more of that. And so it was like, that's really important to me.
Totally.
It didn't end up working out in this particular job because that wasn't respected.
And I also think that there's some places, they don't function like that. You are a cog in a wheel, and you do the work that you are told to do, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you don't make decisions. Right. There is a senior management, panel of people, and they make the decisions, and that's probably why a lot of people are unhappy. That's a huge thing. I think it's also like this sort of always on vibe that I feel like maybe social media and just, technology has driven us to. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, I can imagine, even now that I have this flexible schedule, it does freak me out a little bit, like to, get dressed in the morning, go into the office and just the whole thing. Can
you imagine getting dressed every day?
Well, no, it actually does stress me out because you know what I do? I have a chair that has a massive pile of hoodies and jeans on it. Literally every day I cycle through the same hoodies, the same jeans. I don't even really go into my closet that much. Because it doesn't really matter. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I was going to say one more thing about this. You are your memories too. And I think about this a lot because a lot of people who have these mundane, daily, full-time jobs, and they come home at night and they're always tired, and time goes by really fast because every day's the same. You look back on your life, and I almost rather make less money and do less of that because your life just goes by really fast.
Oh yeah. I always, I always kind of remind myself that, and any person who's elderly to the point where they're kind of staring down their own mortality will tell you the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, I regret working so hard.
Yeah.
No one is ever like, I'm glad that I worked so hard at that company.
I know. No, it's true.
It's just not the way humanity actually works. I am with you. I mean, of course, there's a certain amount of money that I need in order to survive, or life has to change.
Yeah.
And it can. I could downgrade.
Yeah.
I could upgrade. But I don't want to upgrade and be unhappy the way I was at the job I was describing before.
No, definitely not.
Not worth it.
You wouldn't want to trade, even though there are problems with where we're at right now. Like that is even worse.
I wouldn't. It just being unhappy. Like what? So what is the money giving you?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, you're saving, I guess, a little bit more for retirement, but then you're just.
But what if you get hit by a bus before you retire?
Yeah, and you're also just you're prolonging unhappiness. Hoping that eventually, when you're 65, you might like chill out.
See, I never understood that. I always had a hard time wrapping my head around. I mean, I have a 401k. It's not like I didn't contribute to a 401k, and I do believe it's good to save for retirement. But a lot of people live for retirement. They're like, oh, gotta be so frugal and save for later in life. But like, what if later in life you can't really do anything? Maybe you have a bum leg and you can't travel, or you know what I mean? Like all that money you saved, it's like,
it's true.
So I feel like you have to be careful with that. I think on some level, obviously save and prepare for the future. But
of course,
you should also like live for now a little bit. I mean, you never know when it's going to end, and you could have gotten hit by lightning the other night. I mean, you just never know.
Lightning storm
that was
crazy.
Remarkable.
But yeah, and I actually had, this is a little bit more like, it's like on the personal level, not so much on the professional level, but I had a boyfriend once who was always kind of like, he was always annoyed with me if he thought I was spending too much on something.
Mm-hmm.
If I kind of wanted to splurge on dinner or whatever, like, it was just, we didn't see eye to eye on that. And he was always saying, you save now and then you enjoy it later. And I was like, but we're here now. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be with you in the future, which I'm not. And it was like this thing where I knew what he was getting at. Yeah. But I was like, he was frugal to the point where I'm like, you're kind of suffering though. Yeah. And I don't get it. Like,
and you're not having any fun.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not 16 years old, dude. Yeah. Like, don't you want to remember these years? Not everything costs that much money, but it was something that we eventually we didn't see eye to eye enough that it just didn't work out. Yeah. Because it ended up kind of being this lifestyle thing that we couldn't get in sync about.
Yeah, no, that's a huge thing that breaks people up. I mean,
in fact, there've been a couple boyfriends like that, but this was one in particular. It was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar in that way where it's like I want to also enjoy my life now because I don't know how long it's going to last, and you know, why wait? Yeah. Have fun now. Anyway,
spend that money. All right, so this is going to be a real 180 of a new subject, but. And before we get to that, let's be happy for a minute.
I was on the edge of my seat, Sarah.
Well, and you're gonna stay on it, but
I want to be happy.
But yes,
make me happy
as I do, as I tend to do. But before that, just want to remind everybody that we have lots of ways that you can get a hold of us. You can keep up with everything that we're doing. You can watch some fun behind the scenes footage. Mm-hmm. We're gonna work on more stuff, and we're cooking up some ideas for that as well. But havesuchagoodday.com is our website. Hi at havesuchagoodday.com. You can remember that, right? It's like hi at havesuchagoodday.com is
super fun email.
Yeah, is where you can email us and interact with us, and also give us ideas for the show. We might even throw some emails in future shows.
Actually, I've been talking about your emails almost every show for the last month or so, and it's been really fun.
Yeah. So it's our mailbag could expand. Mm-hmm. That would be great. And of course, our patrons, we're nothing without them. Patreon.com/havesuchagoodday. We mentioned at the top of the show, just $1 a month. $1, 4 quarters, 100 pennies. You don't even want those pennies.
I throw pennies out the window.
See?
And you will now you are going to also get a time-lapse video of whatever we happen to be doing before each show. So pre-show, either at Sarah's house or my house, and we'll be like moving around really fast and doing makeup and doing weird things and setting everything up. It's super fun. See right now. Anyway, every show we implemented this about a month ago. I just haven't really mentioned it. We just sort of slipped it in there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be for $1. If you contribute $1, you will not only get a weekly show that's close to an hour, you will get a time-lapse video and other things that we are brewing up. So,
yes.
So just stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We want to make sure that we give you enough perks that you want to contribute to the show, because we want to grow our patron numbers. We're just over 100 right now. Let's get to 200. After 200, let's make it 400. See where I'm going with this? 800, 1600, it's math. So
Help us help you.
Yeah, help us help you, and tell a friend. I think that's one of the best ways that you can get the word out, if you think that somebody would enjoy the show.
Tweet about it.
So this is something that we're not going to enjoy.
I heard it. I'm already worried.
Tweet about it.
Yeah. Tweet about it.
Just tweet, man.
I mean, yell, get on your rooftop and scream, have such a good day.com.
Get arrested. Maybe paint it on your naked body. Yeah, I know it's winter in some places and it's brick outside, as they say.
Definitely take a video if you do that.
Yeah, definitely do that. If you get arrested, I'd be impressed, but don't do that.
No, but definitely shoot a video and send it to us.
Yes, thank you.
We would definitely highlight you on the show.
All right, so let's do that 180 I was talking
all
about.
Right.
And this is actually not funny at all. And I'm talking about the absolute WTF R. Kelly interview.
Such a downer, Sarah.
Yeah, well, I mean it's a downer because the story is very upsetting.
Of course.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that everyone listening or watching knows what I'm talking about, but at a very high level, if you don't, he has been accused of multiple women of abuse, sexual abuse, sometimes with minors. And there are parents of women who have come forward and said that they're being held against their will. And this has been something that, these have been rumors for a long time, decades. It has now come to a point where he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So he sat down with Gayle King. This was for CBS News. It was a CBS morning show, and freaked the fuck out and stood up and almost like in like a threatening way, and was crying and pointing, and she's sort of sitting there like, it's like this interview situation. They're about as far away as you and I are right now. And it's like, what in the hell is going on here?
I can't wait to watch this.
Losing his damn mind. Well, okay, so that happened. Didn't go over well, as you can imagine. The internet memes were out in force. But then two women who are currently his girlfriends, and they say that they're
both of them are.
They say that they both are his girlfriends.
Okay,
and that they both live with him willingly, not against their will, and they didn't want to. They sat down with Gayle King as well. This was like a follow-up interview.
Okay,
and they ran back to back, and they're sort of like, and she's kind of going like, well, like a sexual relationship, and they're like, well, we're not going to talk about that, but we're both in love with him. Everyone's in love. It's a great, wonderful family. Well, they're both of the women's parents have been speaking publicly to the media saying this is a Stockholm syndrome situation. Wow. And they are being held against their will. And maybe they don't realize it because they're so screwed up in their mind because this person is a monster. It is a story that's unfolding that's so wackadoodle that I don't even know what to think.
God, Stockholm syndrome fascinates me.
It's fascinating because it's like, gosh, does that really happen?
It really, I'm constantly reading about Stockholm syndrome because I'm so fascinated by it. But no, this is Craytown.
It is. It
was Craytown before.
The whole thing is, and he's actually, I believe he was arrested for failure to pay child support, which is not really related to the specific story. Although there's an ex-wife involved and she hates him and there's a whole thing. But Anyway, I understand, do legal process, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I know what happened, because I don't. I wouldn't pretend to know, but I would venture a guess that it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I am somewhat glued to my seat, and I feel somewhat bad about that, because I'm like, this is so icky.
Yeah.
But it's out there, these are, it's all over the internet. I can't stay away from it, even if I really tried, without not being on the internet. So I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be going home and watching this video tonight after the show, but it is interesting. I mean, you don't be too hard on yourself for following a dirty story. I mean, there's so much dirt out there, and I think there is a fascination. I mean, it's truly fascinating what this man is capable of, what he has done.
And I don't want to. This is sort of a whole other topic, but there's also and there was a Surviving R. Kelly documentary that ran recently. It was like a 3-parter. It laid a lot of stuff out there. Leaving Neverland is the Michael Jackson documentary.
Everyone's talking about it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Me neither.
In fact, maybe I'll watch it tonight. I was going to last night, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
That's how I felt this week. I was going to watch it, and I just,
because people say it's so horrific that it's like important to watch, but you're not gonna get any joy out of it.
Yeah,
quite the opposite. And I think that it's an interesting question to ask, if you can separate music from a person.
Yep.
Or really, someone who is an entertainer from what they might actually be like outside of that wonderful character that they played in the movie. Mm-hmm. R. Kelly, he was never my favorite artist, but I went to a R. Kelly concert once. I liked him enough to do that with some of my girlfriends back in college. And, I know a lot of songs, and, there's a lot of that going on. Michael Jackson, I mean, don't even get me started. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all grew up with Michael Jackson.
We talked about this a little bit with the Louis C.K. stuff, and it will. I feel like it does taint you, but I do feel like there's still part of me that, I mean, I still like the artist side of them, but maybe I can't look at them the same way. This is a bigger conversation.
It is a bigger conversation, and I think that there are levels to this.
Oh, for sure.
There are, someone might do something where it's like, little rehabilitation, and you can be forgiven.
You're right. Depends on what they have done.
I think in the case of R. Kelly, not coming back from this one.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's hard for me to look at his face. Seriously,
his face is very punchable. His eyes are really close together and rat-like. Always you wonder why he always wore sunglasses. It's because he's got bad eyes.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. All right, let's punch him.
Okay.
Anyway, so did you know that there are 2 blockbusters left on the earth? Well, actually, as of today, there's only one.
Where is it?
It's in Bend, Oregon.
Oh,
isn't that interesting?
That's like the last place that I would expect. I don't know what I expected you to say.
The second to the last one was in Western Australia.
Oh.
But the Bend, Oregon thing is interesting because apparently Bend is very, there's a lot of community, like little communities, little suburban communities, and there's a lot of mom and pop shops.
Sure.
There's a lot of, so I think maybe that's part of the reason why it was sustained. But it's funny because, I have a friend, her name is Maggie. I'm not sure if she listens to the show, but she has been on this bender to try to save an LA kind of institution. It's called Vidiots, and it's a video store. Mm-hmm. It's vidiotsfoundation.org if you want to look it up. And, she wants to bring back the brick and mortar experience. Anyway, I was just thinking about that a lot, like how things go in cycles. So do you feel like, do you think that maybe brick and mortar video stores might come back around at some point? Like there's different trends. I feel like.
Well, what would you do there?
Well, I mean, rent movies.
But why? I mean,
I know. And so
what are you renting? Air?
Well, I mean, you're renting a Blu-ray or a DVD.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know you're not. Yeah, I know you're not on board.
I am.
But it's more of a community thing.
No, I get what you're saying. I do miss the video store of yore, but that's because we needed physical things.
Yeah.
I miss bookstores well, there's still a lot of bookstores, but you know what I'm saying, like physical things that have digital alternatives that end up being more convenient and often a lot cheaper for everybody. It's like these things happen, but I just don't know what you do at videos.
So I'm with you. I'm totally with you. So when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time in these little independent video stores. Me and my sister, it was a huge part of our upbringing. You know, we would go in there and we'd rush to the horror section and get some weird B horror movie. And it's a huge part of our childhood. I miss that experience a little bit, but it feels really old school. I think that, you know, I have a friend who collects a lot of Blu-rays, has a really major collection. And we talk about this a lot because I am like you. I like a streamlined house. I don't want a lot of clutter. I don't want a lot of physical things. In fact, I still have my CDs, but I threw away all the, you know, the cases. I don't even know what to do with these CDs. I never listen to them. They're like in the basement. I don't like the physical stuff. But I know that my friend who owns a lot of these Blu-rays, there's a nostalgia element. There's a collector element to it.
Well, I mean, look at record stores.
Exactly. It's a perfect example.
There's plenty of people who would believe in physical video.
Records have come way back around too.
Yeah, actually, it's funny how
that's what I mean. It's like
that worked. It was like just for DJs for a while, or like collectors, and now it's like cool. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Although you mentioned Blockbuster, and so I'm from a small town where there was no Blockbuster. I don't even know when I first even knew that there was anything called Blockbuster. But I remember the first time I went in there, I was like, it's all blue in here.
I never liked Blockbuster.
Smells like popcorn, and like it was just like ugh. It was
too
like
bright.
It was just because there was one, well, that's not true. There were two video stores in my town that I grew up in. One was called The Video Store, and the other one was called Video Fever. The video store was the cooler one. Like all the girls, they only hired like high school girls. Yeah. I don't know why, but it's like everybody when you were in high school was like, you wanted to work at the video store. In fact, I applied, and for whatever reason, I did not get the job. And I'm still upset about it. But it was the same thing where it was like, it was small. It was kind of not junky, but it wasn't corporate at all. They were independent shops that were owned by somebody who lived in town. And the Blockbuster experience never really appealed to me.
It's really funny. So in this article, they were saying that people will come far and wide to just, because it's like the last Blockbuster. So people are like, ooh, it's like a monument. Yeah, it's a novelty thing, which I think is really interesting. You know, I still know some people, I mean, mostly like older people who, you know, get the discs in the mail still from Netflix. And I know people who don't have streaming services, which I can't wrap my head around that. Like, I am pretty modern. I like my stuff to be all organized in the cloud. You know, I don't even have a Blu-ray player like set up right now.
I have a DVD player in a closet that I just keep not throwing away because it works. And I figure one day I'm probably gonna have to. There's gonna be a DVD that I gotta hook it up to a TV and look at something. So I just keep it around. It doesn't take up much space, but I haven't used that thing in going on 10 years.
Speaking of old media, though, I do have a very old piece of media that I'm going to get transferred. It is a VHS tape of my very first movie that I made. It's in black and white. It is 16 millimeter. It's silent, and I'm the only actor in it. And it was a little movie I did, and I like edited on the flatbed. It's on, and we got it from our teacher. We got a copy of it on a VHS, and I'm gonna go get it transferred. I haven't seen it for 15 years.
And do it now because that stuff will degrade.
That's the thing. And I feel like it might already be ruined.
I've got a bunch of VHS tapes as well from like high school. Like I was like part of like the morning bulletin crew, and we have a bunch of stuff that we dumped on VHS, and it's like I vaguely remember some of it, but I think I'd be pretty surprised to see it now. Yeah. But it was kind of like in terrible shape the last time I looked at it.
See, I'm concerned. This is the only copy I have. And all those beta tapes we used to have, I mean, I ended up throwing them away because I was exasperated, like moving them all the time. I mean, I had some that were like the massive beta tapes, but I have interviews and pieces that I did on there that I completely forgot that I did. And if I would have had them and digitized them and put them on my website, it would have been really cool to see those. And I have no idea where those pieces live. Right. I could probably track them down maybe from like the editor or whatever, but a little bit of a bummer. I sort of wish I would have sifted through that stuff, but at the time, such a hassle.
Yeah. So it you know what it is? It's moving. That's what gets you, because I'm with you. There were like a huge, like several big boxes of tapes that I had done for work. Mm-hmm. And this is even before, I don't know. I mean, I've always done video stuff for work, and during college I was in a video program, and during high school I was in a video program. So I've collected a lot of this stuff, and you know, the stuff that like goes back to high school, I did keep. Like I can't throw that stuff away because it's just like, it's precious, you know, like my parents are young, and you know, all that stuff. And like, I was kind of the weird kid who would like take the camcorder to school and like shoot my friends during lunch and like say stupid stuff. And you know, like that was really important to me. Like I wanted, like, I gotta get this. I gotta get this. So it's somewhere, hopefully, but all the work stuff, chucked it.
Yeah. I mean,
because I was like, I don't know. Who wants to see this?
Yeah, it's too heavy. It's just, oh God. The things that I've gotten rid of over the years. I mean, I even got rid of a really nice like portable piano because I didn't want to move it around anymore. I kind of regret it. It was a great piece. I got it on consignment. So anyway,
well, you could get another piano on consignment.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm in the market. So,
all right.
Wanted to quickly, we already talked a little bit about our email and our website, but again, hi@havesuchagoodday.com. If you have any comments on anything that we've talked about, please email us. We've actually been getting a lot more emails lately because we mentioned how much we love it, and thank you very much for caring. One email came in last week from Jude Sturman. And it was in relation to...
Cool name, Jude.
Very cool. He communicates with us quite a bit. He was referring to when we were talking about what we like to do when we're not hustling and we just don't want to do anything. We just want to chill and put our feet up kind of thing. So he says, Heather, I couldn't agree more. Nowadays, I live for the non-event. I am a believer in the low overhead lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, Jude.
We are with you 100%.
I'd say let's hang, but that's an event.
Gotta like move and walk somewhere. It's too much work. Anyway, well, Sarah, I think that we need to move on here.
Let's do it. We've got our bonus topic coming up for $5 and up patrons. As we mentioned at the top of the show, this is about life-altering things we believe we need before we pass into the afterlife. That's kind of cool. So please stick around. There's more to come. For everybody else, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll do this again next week.
And we hope you have such a good day.
We sure do. I'm Sarah.
I'm Heather.
Bye-bye.